the announcer, who is now sporting a mustache, assembles the finalists, there's a nice callback when the announcer assumes Kururin's a ghost, but apparently all it takes is a quick reassurance for him to just take it all in stride. For some reason, they need to draw lots for the finals in a really big hurry. I don't know why. With only 72 competitors with matches that can't last for more than a minute, the preliminaries couldn't have taken much more than an hour tops. Now, the way this Tao Pai Pai thing is set up is interesting. In fact, it's very reminiscent of Jackie Chun in a way. First, you took out Chaozu, now he's set up against Ten Shinhan, and if he beats him, his next opponent will be Goku. Audiences must have been on the edges of their seats wondering how far this revenge plan would go, if it would tie into the Piccolo storyline, or at least they would be if Goku didn't absolutely sap all the tension out of it by repeatedly telling everyone not to worry because Ten Shinhan has this in the bag. And he does. He beats him easily and hands him over to Sudu Sennin so they can fly off with their tails tucked between their legs, never to be seen again. Well, that was pointless. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to see Ten Shinhan kick butt. It's the next to last time we actually get to see him defeat an opponent, which is especially satisfying given how poor showing he made in the last arc. But, Ten Shinhan receives a scar here that he carries for the rest of the series. That's a bold statement. That should mean something. It easily could have meant something. His past decisions coming back to haunt him, and now he has to carry that mark so close to his heart, an ever-present reminder of the man he used to be. But it all comes across as too pat. Like there was just a spot that needed to be filled, and Toriyama didn't want to use Chaozu or Yajirobe, so yeah, we'll just dust off this guy for no reason. I do have to say, though, that I like Ten Shinhan's exit, that he brushes off congratulations and largely disappears until his next match. Just a subtle indication that this match affected him. Then again, I can't see Ten Shinhan's presence as a spectator adding much to the next match, which is between Goku and Miss Scowlyface. She floors everyone by revealing that Goku had promised to marry her, but still refuses to say who she is unless Goku beats her. Then again, Goku floors her by having to ask Kururin what this whole marriage thing even means. In a rather nice touch, they have Oolong be the only person to figure out who she is. Kame Sennin remarks that her style was similar to his own school's, which is funny considering he once famously told his students his school doesn't have moves. And Ma Jr., Piccolo's alias, comments that the move Goku uses to knock the girl out of bounds is similar to a Mazoku move. Funny, I've never seen any Mazoku do that. I've seen Jackie Chun do it. Upon losing the match, the girl reveals that she is Chi-Chi, Gyumao's daughter, and Goku does indeed remember the promise he made to come back, although he had been under the impression she was offering him food. But a promise is a promise, and so a marriage is formed under the flimsiest of justifications between two people who had only met once in their entire lives before puberty even hit. I'm sure this will just be the best union ever. Actually, I really like this. This is one of those moments you just have to wonder if Toriyama's not just lying when he says he makes all of his stuff up on the fly. When Chi-Chi's identity was revealed, she hadn't appeared in Dragon Ball in 3 years. The last time she'd been mentioned at all was by Yamcha during the fight with Gohan, but even then he only referred to her as Gyumao's daughter, not by name. It's pretty amazing how well this dangling plot thread works, and the fact that it had been dangling for so long. Did anyone at the time actually think that minor encounter from the beginning of the series would ever have any significance again? Did the audience even remember her? But that's what I think makes this so good. I mean, let's be real. The only reason Chi-Chi's back in the story and will ever be in the story is because of her willing and available womb. But the way it fits so perfectly while being tucked away for long enough that it's not obvious really makes it easy to delude myself into thinking that there was some kind of grand plan here. Match 3 is between Ma Jr. and Kururin. As I said a moment ago, Ma Jr. is the alias of the new Piccolo. If you've been following this series, you should know that Ma means demon in Japanese, so this title essentially means Demon Jr. Well, what a clever disguise! Clark Kent could sure take lessons from you! But it is a bit cleverer than appears on the surface. It's all written in katakana, in which Ma is just a single sound without meaning, kind of like the difference in English between the letter I and the word I. Combine that with the Japanese approximation of the English word junior, and you get Ma Jr., which could conceivably be believed by the tournament audience to be just a random collection of sounds. Most of the quarterfinals in the series are a bit lighthearted, but that's hard to do when one of the competitors is a demon intent on taking over the world. So to its credit, this is a pretty intense quarterfinal. The fact of the matter is, we know Kururin's streak of making it into the semifinals is going to end here. He's not going to win this fight. And while Goku still isn't going to let his best friend in on Ma Jr.'s secret identity, he does warn him to be careful and not take him lightly. So there's a pretty good display of moves and creative fighting here, be it Kuririn bending his ki blasts, Ma Jr.'s eye beams, Kuririn revealing he's taught himself Baku Jutsu to keep from falling out of bounds, and perhaps most infamously of all, Ma Jr.'s arm stretching thing that he really should have used more often. The best part is, while Kuririn is purely a sacrificial lamb, he doesn't go out like a punk. Ma Jr. slams him to the ground with a really hard hit, and Kuririn, knowing his limits, ultimately just decides to give up. He gets to go out in his own terms, and even Ma Jr. is left thinking that taking over the world won't be as easy as he thought. Speaking of sacrificial lambs, though, the poster child of that, Yamcha, has his fight against the unlikely Shen. Maybe Yamcha lucked out this time. Maybe he'll get to take on Ma Jr. in the semifinals. No, of course not. While Kuririn thinks that Yamcha has this in the bag, Yajirobe is shown in the audience lamenting over Goku's friend not having a chance. And obviously this guy has to be here for some reason. Well, to jump ahead, as Goku eventually realizes, Shen is Kami-sama in disguise. That's right. In the last 2 tournaments, Yamcha was immediately paired up against the guy who would win the whole thing. Now, he has to fight God. But at least he gets to maintain his dignity. So, for the naming, Shen is, like Ma Jr., written in katakana, but it's supposed to be an allusion to Shenlong. The Shen in Shenlong means God, which is a different reading of the same kanji used to write Kami. Although when you put it like that, it makes it nothing short of divine intervention that someone like Goku would figure it out. Shen appears as another type of trickster mentor, this time of the Yoda variety. That is, the crazy old man on the side of the road who's just testing the hero to see how he'll treat him without knowing how great he is. Granted, this really isn't a test of character. Here he's just taking on an unassuming form so that his opponents will let their guard down. Once Yamcha figures that out, Shen lets on to him that he's not exactly human, and Yamcha jokingly asks if he's some kind of alien from outer space. Oh please, you and your crazy conspiracy theories. Desperate to actually win a quarterfinal, Yamcha pulls out his trump card, the Sokidan, or Spinning Ki Bullet, a completely controllable energy ball that seemingly misses, only to come out from under the ring to clock Shen good. But at this, Shen decides that's enough playing around and knocks the still celebrating Yamcha out of the ring. By this point, Yamcha has long since lost any credibility in the measuring stick role. See, Yamcha suffers from the Worf effect. Worf was a security officer in Star Trek The Next Generation, so he'd often be one of the first people to encounter a new alien threat. Worf is also a Klingon, a bloodthirsty warrior race. So it was common for Worf to get his butt kicked to show how powerful the episode's threat was. Similarly, Yamcha was one of the strongest fighters in the first arc, so he was sacrificed to Jackie Chun to show how tough the mysterious old man was, and then next time to Ten Shinhan for the same purpose. The problem, though, is that if you employ that trope enough without letting the Worf have victories, he's no longer the tough guy who gets beaten up a lot. He's just the guy who gets beaten up a lot. Plus, neither Yamcha or Kuririn really have any story significance here, so it's easier just to get them out of the way. Sure, they're major enough characters to deserve making an appearance in the finals, which is a step up from Chaozu and Yajirobe, but not by much. There is some good stuff here, though. I like how Shen mentors Yamcha even as he's beating him up, giving him advice like not jumping so much, and then talking about how impressed he is with Yamcha. However, just like Ten Shinhan and Tao Pai Pai, it really doesn't go anywhere or exist for any purpose. With scenes like this, you'd think God and Yamcha would form some kind of bond, but we really never see them interact again for the rest of the series. For a fight that does have significance between its two combatants, the first semifinal is also the only tournament rematch in the entire series, between Ten Shinhan and Goku. Again, really no surprise here who's going to have to win, and this match has nothing to do with the Piccolo plot. It's technically kind of fan service, but it's done really well. In fact, it almost calls attention to that by having Goku and Ten Shinhan enter with crowd-pleasing flips into the ring. The reason I won't go so far to fully say it's fan service is because it's the first chance we really get to see the fruits of Goku's new training. And we see that Ten Shinhan is no slouch either. It's a very technical, very strategic fight, and I like that. After a long exchange of intense fighting, everyone's mesmerized, but only the Muten Roshi notices that Goku's still not breathing hard. But while Ten Shinhan is amazed at Goku's strength, he's figured out that Goku's speed hasn't improved at all, and he's going to use that to win. And for a while, it seems like Ten Shinhan has the upper hand. Then Goku drops the bombshell. Those new additions to his outfit aren't just a fashion choice. They're weights. The undershirt, the boots, even the wrist guards are all weighted out to a grand total of over 100 kilograms. It had been part of his training and was similar to the turtle shell he had to wear 6 years earlier. Needless to say, after removing them, Goku's speed greatly increases, to the point he's able to remove Ten Shinhan's obi without him even noticing. And here I had Tenshinhan pegged for a bikini kind of guy. And then a clever bit of drawing. If you look very carefully at the panel, you can see Goku snatching it. Tenshinhan decides to pull out his new, and perhaps his second best known move, the Shishin no Ken, or Four Bodies attack. He reasons that with 12 eyes, catching Goku's movements should be no problem. And this isn't grabbing his 3 identical brothers like Murasaki. Tenshinhan actually does separate himself into 4 people. Hey, if he could grow 2 extra arms 3 years ago, growing 3 more people seems like a logical extension, right? But now he's able to go to all 4 corners of the ring and force Goku into the air where he can fire beams from all of his third eyes. That's a weird one to say. Tenshinhan warns Goku to concede before he can do it again, but Goku reveals he's figured out 2 weak points. Tenshinhan isn't going to take this bluff lying down, so he decides to try it again. Oh, come on, you're smarter than that. You never break out the same attack more than once. Sure enough, Goku uses Tenshinhan's own move against him, breaking out the Taiyo-Ken to blind him, revealing the first weak point. Tenshinhan relies too much on his 12 eyes, while Goku, thanks to Kami-sama and Mr. Popo's training, has moved beyond physical sight. As for the second weakness, splitting into 4 divides Tenshinhan's power by 4, and Goku knocks all 4 of them out of the ring, sparing us the confusion of how the rules would handle only a fraction of the Tenshinhans going out of bounds. The next match is Ma Jr. vs. Shen, but first Goku confronts Shen over why he entered the tournament in the first place. Shen admits he doesn't think Goku has the power necessary to defeat Piccolo, and that even if he did, he wouldn't be able to do it because apparently Mr. Popo let slip the little detail that if Piccolo is killed, then God will die too. Goku protests, but Shen says he won't die, that humans have taught him a means of dealing with Piccolo. Shen stays in character by claiming the delay was due to being in the bathroom, but once the fight starts, he blows everyone away. Literally. After a bit of fighting, Shen thinks to himself that Piccolo is stronger than he thought, that this borrowed body's holding him back. Somehow, Ma Jr. reads his mind and figures out he's Kami-sama in disguise. The two taunt each other in a weird language until Shen brings out a tiny bottle with a demon seal scroll on it. He uses the Mafuba. Unfortunately, this Piccolo has prepared for it and reverses the move, trapping God instead. God manages to release his human host just in the nick of time, so all anyone sees is a Piccolo-looking creature being sucked into the jar. The announcer assumes Shen is unconscious and gives the 10 count. When the real Shen wakes up, he has no idea why he's here. He assumes he got drunk and can't understand why everyone, including his son, is cheering him so. Goku demands the bottle, but Ma Jr. swallows it, ensuring that God can't be released unless Ma Jr. is killed. With the crisis at a head, everyone demands answers, and Goku finally explains what's going on. That Piccolo had spit out a new version of himself just before he died, and that Ma Jr. is him, somehow having grown up in just 3 years, and that the Piccolo-looking being was God. Tenshinhan explains to Goku that they can free God if they pop the cork on the bottle. They all agree that all they can do now is rely on Goku in the final match. Goku and Ma Jr. step out and the latter removes his mantle. It's a very rare look for Piccolo with just the turban on, and I think it looks really good. I wish he used it more. But enough about fashion. The fate of the world is at stake. Enough about the fate of the world being at stake. Chaozu's doll is missing. Wait, what?